Welcome back to Planet Stream, the channel where we dive deep into the biggest global events shaping our world today. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because here we tell the untold stories behind the headlines. And in today's episode, we take you straight to the battlefield in Eastern Europe, where the war between Ukraine and Russia has taken yet another shocking turn. Reports have surfaced that Ukrainian forces have successfully destroyed 3 heavily fortified Russian positions using advanced US-supplied bombs. This event not only represents a dramatic escalation in the conflict but also raises serious questions about how the battlefield balance is shifting, and what it means for the future of the war. Let's start from the very beginning to understand how this operation came about. For months, Ukraine has been asking its Western allies for more sophisticated long-range weapons, particularly ones capable of penetrating Russia's deeply dug-in defensive lines. Russia has spent over 2 years constructing networks of trenches, bunkers, and artillery positions across occupied territories, particularly in the Donbas region and southern Ukraine. These fortified positions were designed to resist conventional artillery and limit Ukrainian advances. But the US, responding to Kyiv's urgent appeals, recently delivered a new set of precision-guided bombs, known as JDAMs, Joint Direct Attack Munitions, which transform ordinary unguided bombs into GPS-guided smart weapons. And it seems Ukraine wasted no time in putting them to use. According to reports from Ukrainian military sources, the operation was carried out with careful planning and meticulous intelligence gathering. Using drones, satellite imagery, and reconnaissance units, Ukraine identified 3 critical Russian positions that had been holding back Ukrainian advances for weeks. These were not just simple trench lines but multi-layered defensive hubs. Each position reportedly contained artillery batteries, ammunition depots, and command centers. Destroying them would deal a devastating blow to Russia's ability to launch counterattacks in that sector of the front. On the night of the operation, Ukrainian aircraft took to the skies armed with the American-supplied bombs. The advantage of JDAMs is that they can be dropped from a safe distance, without requiring aircraft to fly directly over heavily defended Russian positions. Using GPS coordinates fed into the bombs, the Ukrainian pilots released them with pinpoint accuracy. What happened next was described as one of the most powerful strikes since the early days of the war. Eyewitnesses on the ground spoke of massive explosions lighting up the night sky, followed by secondary blasts as Russian ammunition stores went up in flames. Within minutes, 3 separate Russian positions were reduced to smoking ruins. But what makes this story even more significant is not just the destruction itself, but the symbolism it carries. For Russia, these fortified positions were seen as virtually untouchable, strongholds that would anchor their defensive lines for months to come. For Ukraine, destroying them sends a clear message: the battlefield is evolving, and with Western weapons, even the most hardened Russian defenses can be cracked. The reaction in Moscow was predictably furious. Russian state media tried to downplay the incident, claiming that the losses were minimal and that their forces had quickly regrouped. But independent reports suggest otherwise. Satellite images taken after the strike show the positions obliterated, with little left intact. Analysts note that the loss of these positions will force Russian commanders to stretch their lines thinner, weakening their overall defense. In a war, where territory is measured in meters gained or lost, the destruction of 3 key positions is a significant setback. Now, let's step back and understand why these bombs are such a game changer. For much of this war, artillery has been king. Russia has relied on overwhelming firepower, bombarding Ukrainian positions with relentless shelling. Ukraine, in turn, has had to match that with its own artillery, much of it supplied by NATO countries. But artillery has its limits. It's often inaccurate, requires massive amounts of shells, and struggles to hit deeply buried targets. Smart bombs, on the other hand, change the equation. With a single strike, Ukraine can achieve what would otherwise take days of shelling. And because JDAMs are guided by GPS, they are much harder to intercept. The political impact of this event is just as important as the military one. Ukraine has long argued that Western hesitation in providing advanced weapons only prolongs the war. Every time the West has provided a new capability, from HIMARS rocket systems to Patriot air defenses, Ukraine has shown it can use them effectively and responsibly. By destroying 3 Russian positions with precision, Kyiv is once again proving that it can maximize the impact of Western weapons. This success will likely strengthen Ukraine's case for receiving even more advanced systems, such as long-range ATACMS missiles or even fighter jets. From Russia's perspective, however, this incident underscores a growing vulnerability. Despite its massive army and resources, Russia is finding itself increasingly on the defensive. Each time Ukraine gains access to new Western technology, Russian positions that once seemed secure suddenly become vulnerable. This creates a psychological impact not just on the soldiers fighting on the ground but also on Russian society at large. When images of destroyed positions circulate online, they fuel doubts about Moscow's ability to win this war. The question many are asking now is, what comes next? Could this be the start of a larger Ukrainian offensive using precision bombs? Military analysts suggest that this strike might be just the beginning. If Ukraine can consistently target and destroy Russian positions, supply depots, and command centers with smart bombs, it could begin to unravel the very fabric of Russia's defense strategy. In wars of attrition, momentum often shifts not because of one major breakthrough, but because of a series of smaller, decisive strikes that gradually weaken the enemy's resolve. This could very well be one of those moments. Of course, the use of US bombs in such a direct and destructive way also raises the risk of escalation. Russia has repeatedly warned that Western weapons used against its forces cross a red line. While NATO has been careful to avoid direct involvement in the war, supplying advanced weapons that destroy major Russian positions could provoke retaliation. Moscow might increase missile strikes on Ukrainian cities, target Western supply routes, or even escalate cyberattacks against NATO countries. The West is aware of these risks but seems increasingly willing to take them, especially as Russia shows no sign of ending its invasion. For the Ukrainian people, though, this strike brings a sense of hope. After months of grueling battles and heavy losses, every victory, no matter how small, carries enormous symbolic weight. The destruction of 3 Russian positions is not just a tactical success, it's a reminder that Ukraine can still fight back, that Russian defenses are not invincible, and that with the right support, victory is possible. Across Ukrainian social media, the news of the strike was celebrated, with many citizens expressing gratitude to their armed forces and to the US for supplying the bombs. But beneath the celebration lies a sobering reality. War is brutal, and every victory comes with a price. Ukrainian pilots who carried out the mission risked their lives flying into contested airspace. Ground forces had to coordinate the strike, often under fire. Civilians near the front lines continued to suffer from daily bombardments. And while the destruction of Russian positions may shift the tactical balance, it does not end the war. Thousands more battles remain to be fought, and both sides are preparing for a long and bloody conflict. Still, the strategic message is clear: advanced technology can tip the scales. If Ukraine continues to receive cutting-edge weapons, Russia will find it increasingly difficult to maintain its occupation. This is why every weapon delivery is so fiercely debated in Western capitals. It's not just about the hardware, it's about the future of the war, and by extension, the future of Europe's security. Looking back at history, wars have often turned when one side gains access to new technology. In World War II, radar gave the Allies an edge in the Battle of Britain. In the Gulf War, precision-guided munitions shocked the world by destroying Iraqi targets with surgical accuracy. Today, in Ukraine, smart bombs may be playing a similar role. They represent not just firepower, but a shift in how the war is fought. So, as we reflect on this latest development, it's important to keep the bigger picture in mind. The destruction of 3 Russian positions is more than just a headline. It's a sign of where the war is heading, toward a battlefield where precision, speed, and intelligence matter more than sheer numbers. It's a reminder that Ukraine, though smaller and outgunned, can still outmaneuver its larger neighbor with the right tools. And it's a warning to Russia that the longer this war drags on, the more vulnerable its forces become. And that brings us back to you, the viewers of Planet Stream. What do you think this strike means for the future of the conflict? Does it mark the beginning of a turning point, or is it just another chapter in a long and grinding war? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we read every single one of them. Thank you for watching Planet Stream, where we bring you the stories that matter, told in detail, with context, and with honesty. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The war in Ukraine continues to reshape our world, and we'll be here to cover every development, every breakthrough, and every moment that defines history. Stay tuned, and as always, this is Planet Stream, bringing the world to you.